Well, it's important to understand the media is lying to you most of the time, especially the corporate media. Not all of them, but most of the corporate media, if you see them repeating the exact same line about the exact same story, it's a lie. It's something they've made up. And they do this on purpose. We'll talk to Julie in a moment about why. You've probably seen something about Trump accepting a jet from Qatar or Qatar. All my smart friends call it Qatar. I call it Qatar because I'm uneducated. But that's not at all what actually happened. John Carl, of course, wants you to believe that Trump's out there taking jets under the table.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? Why not leave it behind?
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why not?
Only ABC, well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us, I want to pay you $1 billion or 400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much.
You may look at this and say, have you ever been given a gift worth millions of dollars and then not received anything?
It's not a gift to me, it's a gift to the Department of Defense. And you should know better, because you've been embarrassed enough, and so has your network. Your network is a disaster. ABC is a disaster.
Well, let's talk about why they're like this with an actual journalist. Joining me now, Julie Banderas, Emmy award-winning Fox anchor and, of course, author of a wonderful book, A Monumental Mistake, from Brave Books, which you know how big of a fan of Brave Books we are here. Julie, I really genuinely want to know. I mean, somebody like you reach the tippy top of your profession, but these people, they get to the top of the profession and they all just decide to lie? Why?
Because they have to spread that message. They have to be anti-Trump. It's their jobs. I mean, that's what they did during the Biden administration, which is the whole reason why the Biden cover-up happened in the first place. Everyone knew that the president was incapable and he was cognitively declining at rapid fire speed. But the mainstream media even admitted after the fact the reason why they didn't ever talk about it is because they didn't want to put a feather in Trump's cap. They didn't want to help Trump because their job is to take Trump down. So anytime that Trump does anything, no matter how transparent it is, somehow the mainstream media is going to try to spin it and make it seem as if they're trying to hide something. The only administration that was hiding anything from the American people was the Biden administration. And now all of a sudden we have a president who is not only transparent, he holds news conferences, he talks to the media, even the mainstream media, who he obviously dislikes and has zero respect for, he still invites them into these press conferences. They're still allowed to ask the ridiculous questions, but not without being called out by the president. I mean, he flat out said that is a ridiculous question. The president very well could have tried to hide this. He could have possibly tried to make it seem as if, it had nothing to do with him and somehow that the Department of Defense was involved and that he didn't even know about it. He could play dumb about it, but he didn't. He's being forthright. And that's what this president does. And the mainstream media doesn't like it. They only like shady presidents who lie to the American public as long as they're Democrats, and they will continue to cover up those lies for as long as they can. And they will try to block the truth. And that is coming from President Trump.
Julie, is this a corporate problem or is this a journalist problem? Because I'm trying to figure out if these people like ABC, the John Carls of the world, if these people are just simply doing what their bosses tell them or want them to do, they're taking the company line, or if they genuinely have these feelings.
Oh, no, it's twofold. I mean, first of all, everything comes from the corporate level. Let's just talk about that. Okay, no journalist is going to go on TV and say something that doesn't bode well with corporate. Okay, corporate pays their checks. So it starts at the top and it makes its way down. And so it's bled so badly at this point that there are no real true journalists in mainstream media anymore. I remember growing up watching NBC, CBS, ABC, and I remember them reporting the news. I don't remember, the bias in the news business until I actually started working at Fox News Channel 20 years ago. And that's when I really noticed, wow, these mainstream broadcast networks are no longer unbiased. They are completely biased, and they're there to sell a message. And what they're doing is they're harming the American people, because the American people are getting fake news. I hate to say it because I always couldn't stand when Trump would use that terminology, but they're not getting the truth. And so therefore they're feeding the American people lies. And then when it comes to elections, the American people are voting based on lies. They don't even know who they're voting for. All those who voted for Biden, they didn't get the truth about Biden. They certainly didn't get the truth about Hunter Biden before they voted him to office the first time. Had we known about Hunter Biden's dealings, maybe he wouldn't have gotten elected. But that was the mainstream media that decided to hide all of that. And that's how politics have become so divisive now, because everybody actually believes what they hear. Do a little digging. Don't be lazy and believe everything you hear, especially when you're watching mainstream media.
Julie, aren't they in the end, this is something that weirds me out about it though, in the end, aren't they harming themselves, especially today? Everybody has a smartphone. Yeah. Everyone gets their news from a million different places. I don't have to get home after work and turn on ABC for 10 minutes a night. I'm up on the news before that. So if I have one of these major news organizations and I lie through my teeth and violate the trust of the viewing public, eventually they're going to leave me and then I have no more power. In the end, they're hurting themselves.
Because they're so brainwashed, their viewers, that they're never going to see the light. That's the unfortunate part. I mean, when I first started working at Fox News Channel, I remember, the brand was fair and balanced. That was what Fox News Channel sort of was born on, right? In order to be the other opposing side, because up until Fox News Channel was born, you didn't have the opposing side. All the views were one view, and they were all left liberal, elitist views. So I don't think that the broadcast networks will ever be out of a job, because you're always going to have ignorant people that are buying into these lies, because that's what they've been buying up for years and years and years. I think it's time, though, finally, for some Democrats to come out and actually acknowledge that what the president has done regarding certain legislation, regarding DOJ, regarding illegal immigration deportation. These are all issues that should not be Republican or Democrat. These are American issues. If you are a registered voter and you're an American in this country paying taxes, you should be very happy about these decisions, saving the country and American taxpayers thousands of dollars each, okay? $1 trillion President Trump and Elon Musk have saved Americans. Why would any Democrat have a problem with that? It's so clear and obvious. And if you are a mainstream media viewer, and you don't see that there's a real bias in this country, you need to really think again before you start to digest all the lies that you're listening to.
Julie, I have 2 kids. I know you've got a household of them as well.
They're everywhere. Like everywhere I turn, there's a kid, and they all came from me. So 3.
Yeah, believe me, I've got 2 6-footers, so it seems like mine are everywhere.
Yeah.
One thing that blows me away is not just about my sons, because that's fairly predictable, but my sons and their friends, what hardcore little righties they are. I wasn't even political at that age. I didn't give a crap about politics at all. Maybe hardcore righties is not the right way to put it. They have nothing but complete disdain for Democrats, for the modern American left. You wrote this book, A Monumental Mistake. Talk to me about that in America's youth today.
Okay, well, first of all, as you've seen in our country, we have adults that are hateful. We have college students that are hateful. You see that in the protests that were daily after the October 7th massacre. Now our children are watching, and they're not only seeing the hate, they're seeing the disrespect. Respect has always been something that's been number one most important issue for me as a parent, and teaching my children since they were born, from the time that they were talking, to be respectful of one another, to be respectful of their parents, respectful to me as their mother, respectful to your teachers, respectful to authority. As they got older, I branched that out. On New Year's Eve, when I lived in New York City, we would go down to the streets and we would go and thank all the police officers for their service, respectful of law enforcement, respect of history, respect your history and those who came before us. Those are the values and morals that American families are lacking these days. And so a monumental mistake essentially is that we're making a monumental mistake by not teaching our children these valuable lessons. In the book, it actually talks about and makes reference to the monuments that are being torn down in this country, perhaps because maybe they stand for something that isn't necessarily a positive thing. The monuments that were taken down under the Biden administration because they want to appease the woke. So it really just comes down to old, traditional, old school values. It shouldn't be old fashioned to say yes, ma'am, and no, sir. It shouldn't be old fashioned to be respectful, to say please and thank you. And if you do disrespect somebody, to apologize sincerely for it. We don't see that anymore. And if we don't teach that to our children now, what's going to happen to our next generation? Look what's happening right now with college students. Where do you think their parents went wrong? They went wrong. Those college students would not be preaching hate and death to Jews if it weren't for something that was missing in their childhood. And the number one thing that parents are missing are teaching their children respect. So I think we need to try to save our future generation. And I think it starts with respect.
We would get along so well.
You heard a
I have
child
beaten
say that.
into my boys. Not physically beaten it, but I have beaten that into my kids, and they get it
Yeah.
now. They finally understand what that respect brings you. Julie, thank you. I appreciate you very much. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.